right, how y'all doing? Welcome back. We are here and we are tuned in with Jaco. I'm your host, Jaco. We thank you for tuning in with us. We'd like you to like and subscribe on our YouTube page here. We're just getting started and it's our first episode. We welcome you all to come in with our Tune Squad and we hope that you continue to join us for all our interviews. We're going to have some fun things going on. It's going to be great. So we welcome you guys in. We hope that you guys love what we're doing. And I have with me a very, very special friend of mine, a special guest. I couldn't have picked anybody else to start us with our first interview here. He is the 38th Georgia State Senator. He's came in. He's helping us with the election last year, and that's when I met him. He's been a great friend to us, a great friend to the podcast, one of the first members of the Tune Squad, Senator Rashawn Kemp. Thank you for coming in, man. I appreciate it, man.
Glad to be here,
Thank
man.
You for your time. I know
Excited
you're busy,
about
man.
this.
Yeah, I am. We're really excited here at Tuned In with Jaco. I know the people here may not know a lot about you, so let's just start with that. Tell the people a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so State Senator Rashawn Kemp, I represent Georgia's 38th Senate District, which actually was the first Senate district to have a black man represent them post-Reconstruction. So a very historic seat.
Congratulations.
So very excited to serve the state of Georgia. And I'm originally from Ohio, so I'm a Buckeye, but I'll root for the Bulldogs as long as they ain't playing the Buckeyes.
I understand that. I'm Midwest kid. I'm from Wisconsin.
Yeah, there we go.
Badger. I get you.
That's right.
Okay.
I'm a former educator. Became a principal at the age of 27.
Okay.
Proud dad, husband, and just really like to try to help my community as much as I can because of so much that was poured into me.
Absolutely. So, what made you take the steps to become a senator? Because I know this is your first term. It's been your first year, and a lot has happened, since the election. So, how has that been for you? And what effect has it had on you being a first-year senator?
Yeah, I was so excited that my name was going to be on the ballot with Kamala Harris, and felt like, man, this is it. We're ready to make history. Me being the first openly gay black man ever elected to our state legislature, and then having Kamala Harris potentially becoming our first black woman president, and then the country just lost their mind.
Absolutely.
So this has been a very interesting time to serve, but also kind of speaks to why I wanted to serve. Like, it is our time to step up and do what so many people did prior to us.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I felt in terms of serving, why I wanted to run for office. Like, I was raised by my great grandma. And I've always said, like, there are so many people, everyday people that are making sacrifices for their families. And my job as an elected official is, how do I make their lives better? And so that is what inspired me to run. The country, even though it went crazy and, we have all this craziness going on, but what better time to serve, to fight for the things that we believe in, and to honestly fight for our survival, considering all the craziness that is happening right now. So it's kind of like a gift and a curse. It's a tough time, but somebody has to do it, and why not us stepping up to the plate and serving our communities?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Speaking of community, we can pivot right into that. Since you've been in office, what are some things that you've worked on that's been for the communities, that's been for people like us that are trying to improve and have a better way of life?
Yeah, so I am the only freshman Democratic senator that had a bill actually passed and signed into law this year. And so one thing I learned how hard it is to actually get legislation passed, especially being in the minority party. But it also speaks to the importance of what I worked on, and that was literacy. We got a literacy crisis in the state. 70% of our kids do not read on grade level.
Wow.
That means only 3 out of 10 kids in a classroom are actually on grade level. And so to me, that's a crisis. I'm a former educator. I taught at the high school level, but I know from experience that if these kids aren't reading on grade level in elementary school, it just has like a cascading effect. And when they get to high school, they struggle. And so my bill makes sure that, one, we don't teach kids using what we now know is a failed way of teaching kids how to read, called 3Qing. And 3Qing pretty much teaches kids to read by guessing. So parents out there, there. If you have a child that comes home and, the teacher has told them like, oh, look at the picture and just figure the word out, that is not how you read. You have to read by sounding out words and knowing how those letters interact with each other. And so I got rid of 3Qing, and then also made sure that our teachers are prepared to teach kids how to read the right way. And so now our colleges and universities have to use the science of reading to teach kids how to read.
Wow, that's amazing. A lot of people didn't know those things. I
Yeah.
think it's very important that we get these types of messages out to people so that we can have a direct impact on our communities versus just seeing what we see on TV and not really getting the right information out to
That's
our
right.
people. What you think? What do you think is also a better way for us to do that from a level of just a pedestrian or someone just trying to make a difference that's not elected official?
One, what you're doing now, like we need people to know the information, and people get news and information from so many different sources now. It's not just like, oh, I used to watch the nightly news with my grandma
Right.
every night. Like that don't really happen no more. Like
Right.
everybody's like on TikTok or Instagram and
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
other social media platforms. But it's us stepping up and saying, you know what? I want to make sure that my people are fed, my people know what is going on. So stepping up and doing a podcast, or
Yeah.
like going down to the Capitol, like anybody can come down to the Capitol. And I honestly don't see enough of Black and brown faces in those hallways advocating for the issues that impact us. And so anytime between January and the end of March, like anybody can come down to the Capitol and advocate for what matters to you. It's important that we hear from our constituents in Georgia, because it really makes a difference, especially if you come to a committee hearing and speak on a bill or for or against a bill that's being presented, because those people in that committee are literally taking that bill and making amendments and changing it based upon what they're hearing from the community.
Okay, that's pretty interesting, and I think that I agree with you. I think that a lot of us that are, I won't say misinformed, but uninformed.
Yeah.
And when
Yes.
we have that lack of information, we can't really be productive in building something better for ourselves. Um, let's talk about something that approaches everybody. We have I think a growing housing affordability crisis in Atlanta with so many things coming here, and you love to see business coming to Georgia, but it's also inflating everything in Georgia financially for people, including housing. Do you think the government is doing a good job with that effect that's happening to people, because people are literally almost getting moved out of their homes because they can't afford to live in certain areas anymore?
Yeah, I will say I think the local government's doing a good job. Like I think Mayor Dickens here in Atlanta is doing a remarkable job of trying to do everything he can to make sure that there are more affordable housing units in the city of Atlanta. I think that our state and federal government could do a better job. One, we have a housing crisis. We don't have enough stock, so the federal government can step in. That's one thing that Kamala Harris ran on, was increasing the number of houses in the country. Whereas we now have a president that's focused on everything but that.
Yeah.
And then I feel like our state government can do more. That's why I actually introduced a bill to give more rights to tenants, because I think that a lot of times the government like sways towards, the, landlord rights versus tenants. So I introduced a bill to where they can look at other things than just their income, like making somebody's rental history much more of a weight in determining if they're going to qualify for an apartment or a house, because their history should be able to show like, look, I can do this. In addition to that, like having some recourse if they're not fixing things in time or addressing problems, then there should be some recourse that the landlord has to face as a result of that. And then I also feel like our state is one of the states that does not allow for rent control to take place. And so it's a simple thing, just a state saying, you know what, the state's not going to say that we're controlling rent, but if a local government wants to be able to put some rent control in place, they should be able to do that. But right now, our state government doesn't let people do that.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I mean, these companies are coming in and buying all these properties, and then they're building these high rises. And these are corporations that are not even in Georgia. They're coming in from other states and they're buying up all the properties. I think that's a effect that's really hurting the economy as whole, because it's forcing people in situations where they can't afford to live in the places they've been for years.
Absolutely. I mean, you have communities where investors from out of state, these big companies are literally coming in and buying up all the houses in our communities. What is it? I think it's something like over 30% or maybe more that own the rental stock in this country, in this
Wow.
state. And so we have to change that. Like, do you have these investors coming in and making all this money on the backs of our communities? And then even the homeowners now in the community are having issues because these are people that don't live here. They don't care, how the properties look,
Right. Right.
or they're hard to get in contact with.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just impact people being able to afford their homes. It also impacts people that live in these communities, that care about their communities, and are having a hard time in getting these people to address some of the issues of blight and things in their neighborhoods.
Yeah. And that leads me to voting.
Mm.
If I'm not mistaken, you voted yesterday, didn't you? It was a vote you had to do yesterday. I saw on your Instagram it was a vote that was
A
happening.
vote? No.
Oh, it was some you the lady, I believe. They were talking about votes they're
Absolutely.
gonna have in certain districts. But what are steps are being taken to ensure fair and secure elections in our state? Because that's been suppressed a lot too.
So let me first say, this narrative that there's voter fraud going on, that is a bunch of BS.
See,
Like,
and that's the thing, misinformation.
it's
I think
misinformation,
people
man.
don't.
Like,
That's the things that people need to know.
yeah, and the interesting thing is, a lot of times you see like where somebody, they voted twice or did something,
Right.
It's for them, not for us. Like, that's the wild thing, right?
Right.
But Georgia just went through this huge purge of voters that have not voted in a while. And from a Democratic perspective, I understand like if somebody hasn't voted in a while, or like they've moved, they've been hard to get in contact with, like that's one thing, one way to clean up a rolls. What I don't like is to see a official saying, well, you haven't voted. My metric is you haven't voted in the past 2 presidential elections, so I feel like your voting status should be revoked. Like, I don't think that's how we should be handling it, and
Right.
that's just a way of suppressing votes and making it more difficult, so that when people are they think, oh, I'm registered, then I go and try to vote and realize you're not even registered anymore. You've been taken off the voter rolls.
Right.
So that is what I have a concern with. That is the way that they're now trying to suppress the vote, is to take people off if they have not voted in a certain amount of time.
Wow. Like an expiration date almost.
Like an expiration
That
date.
doesn't
An
make any
artificial
sense.
one that
Yeah.
they get to decide what that is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. At the
So-
same time, our governor is pushing a U.S. Senate candidate that has not voted, no joke, in the last 2 or 3 U.S. presidential cycles, which is pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It should be able to go both ways.
Right.
But let's talk local for a second, just a brief second.
Yeah.
As far as the voting goes, how can we get people more engaged in the local voting process, where things are more important and where things are actually happening at the root of things versus national?
Yeah. One, I think, and I'll speak from a Democratic perspective, like we need to do a better job of addressing the needs of our communities. For example, we talked about, housing. Like,
Yeah.
what are our solutions that we're putting forward that's going to make you want to come out and vote and say, you know what, I agree. Like, we have too many investors coming in and buying up our properties.
Right.
Or, I can't afford, like, to go shopping and things like I used to because now my rent is, too high. We have to do a better job of giving people something to vote for. But in addition to that, like, I think that our community also has to understand, like, elections have consequences. And this
Yeah.
is like such a cascading effect. Like, literally everything we do can be tied to some sort of policy that is made either at a city council meeting or a state, legislative meeting, or, down in DC. Like, literally everything that we do is impacted by somebody going into a voting booth and voting for somebody. So we have to do a better job of understanding, like, this is life or death. And this
Yeah.
is quality of
Yeah.
life issues that we need to be going and voting no matter what the election is.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. Let's talk about Senate Bill 1 for a second. I think that it's something that you can speak to a little more than me, and I bet you a lot of people that are viewers that you may not know about this bill. It's something related to women's sports. But if you could just break that down a little bit to me and tell me the impact it's having and what's going on with that bill.
Yeah, so Senate Bill 1 is a very, touchy subject. It pretty much just says that trans girls cannot play in girls' sports. It goes further, like, addresses locker rooms and things like that. But really, that's what they're getting at, right? And, anybody can feel how they feel about it. And I understand, like, as a girl dad, like, I understand, like, the fairness issue. I get that. But at the end of the day, people have to understand, like, Republicans are very good at creating these wedge issues. Like that is not what we should be focusing on. When I just told you 70% of our kids, 70% aren't reading on grade level, and
Right.
you care about less than 1%, like literally, y'all, less than 1% of kids identify as trans. So like this is a big problem that's being made, and it's distracting us away from the big problems that we have where kids can't even read. Like I don't
Right.
give a damn about kids playing sports if my kid can't read. I'm
Right.
sorry, I don't know if I
Right.
can cuss. I probably shouldn't have cussed, but
You good.
yeah,
You good. You good.
but that's the issue that I have with it, and ultimately, I just feel like it's something that should be left to like local school districts to decide. Like you make those decisions. The state legislature should not be making those decisions,
Yeah.
and that's how it was set up. But Republicans are just really good at messaging and distracting us. And ultimately, the bill is now law to where no trans girls can participate in girls' sports. But, I just want to remind people that there are people that can't afford to go grocery shopping. There are people that can't afford their houses. There are children that can't read. Those are the issues we should be focusing on.
I agree, 110%. So from your point of view and your experience, like I said, you've been doing this for a little over a year
Mm,
now, and I watched the process as you go through to get to this point. I was lucky. I was lucky to be able to, go hand in hand with you in door knock and do all
Yep.
those fun things. Last year we were able to experience. Out of those experience, what impact do you think that helped you to become a better senator day by day?
Yeah. So the one thing that I love the most is knocking on doors. Like I love going and hearing from people in their homes. They're usually a little more relaxed. Like you talk to a lot of doorbells now,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like it
Now
is
more than ever, yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, but I think it is so important because you build that personal connection. Like people get to see like, oh, you're just a regular person just like me.
Yeah,
But also I'm going to listen to you and hear what is important to you. And I'll say trans girls never came up when I knocked on somebody's door.
right,
People were
right,
literally talking
exactly.
about getting a good school for their kid. They were talking about healthcare, which is, in a horrible state right now.
Yeah,
Like those are the things you get to hear what is most important to everyday voters so that you as a policymaker can make sound decisions that ultimately are going to improve their lives. Because remember, I said like that's why I got into this. I want to make people's lives better. I don't want to make it worse. And I just don't see how one little trans kid in the state of Georgia, swimming is going to impact the state. Like that's what we should be focusing on. Like how do we improve people's lives? And so ultimately that's, that process really helps with that.
yeah, absolutely. You mentioned healthcare. I think that's a big ticket
Yeah.
item, especially right now. Not only in Georgia but in the United
Yeah.
States. Um, how do you feel about that? What progress do you think we're making here in Georgia, and how do you think it's actually going to end up as a totality nationwide?
Yeah. Obamacare was one of the most monumental bills that was ever passed because if you think about it, healthcare impacts everybody in this country, right?
Right,
If your daughter gets sick and my daughter's in that classroom, my daughter is likely going to catch it, right?
right.
And then she's going to bring it home, and I'm the parent that always gets sick. Like I catch everything my daughter
Oh
brings
man.
home, right? And so this is like a cascading effect that impacts everybody, right? And so if you think about it in that way, healthcare should be a right. Like everybody should have access to healthcare because ultimately, if we trace it back, you don't have healthcare, I'm going to pay for it at some point anyway, and I'm
Right.
still going to catch what you had. And so I feel like our state is getting it wrong in that we did not expand Medicaid. And as a result, we have hospitals closing. We have multiple counties across this country that don't even have OGBYNs and things because there's not a pool of people that are insured and have the money to sustain these industries. And so we have a crisis that's occurring and is going to occur now with the changes to federal Medicaid, to where now people have to prove that they're working or looking for a job just to get health care, which is
Wow.
insane to me.
Yeah, and that doesn't help anything when you're trying to get health care, when you're looking for a job and you
Right.
need health care.
Right.
I mean, if you're unemployed, you're still going to need to be able to take care of yourself and your family somehow. So
Absolutely.
I think that that's a deep impact, and it's a deep cut for our society, not only in Georgia but all across the United States.
Yeah.
So it's good that we get that word out to people and let them know that it's very important that we need to find out what our local legislation is doing. We find out what our
Yes.
because we hear so many things online, and it's not necessarily the correct things, and then they run with that.
Right.
Or if
That's
you hear
right.
a disconcerting ad, or you hear something from a party that's not even real, or a law that hasn't passed, and now people are assuming that,
Yep.
and then people don't go out and vote, and then people vote for the wrong thing because they think it's moving in the wrong
That's
direction.
right.
I think a lot of that has happened nationally, and that's been a big problem too. Just the lack of misinformation.
Absolutely.
And I think that's hurting us as society even right now. Um, it's another bill that I want to talk about just briefly. The Senator Bill 93. Is anything you can tell us more about that, or just tell our viewers a little bit more about that so we can break that down a little bit?
Yeah. So that was my bill. As I shared, like I learned very quickly, it's very hard to get a bill passed. Like it has to go through, you have to write it, then you have to get other senators to sign on to it. So they sponsor it with you, and then you have to present it to a committee. But whenever a bill is presented, that committee chair gets to decide, like, if I even want to hear your bill. So there's some advocacy that you as a senator have to do. Like I have to go talk to you like, hey, chairman, like I have this great bill, can it get a hearing? You don't have to hear it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so ultimately, I was able to get a hearing, and then, it gets passed out of committee, and then
Wow.
it has to be voted on the Senate floor. And then that's a whole nother process, because ultimately anything that makes it to the Senate floor, the lieutenant governor gets to decide what gets to that floor. So that's why you get to see like why these, elections are so important, because next year people are going to be voting for a new governor, new lieutenant governor. All these, offices matter because they get to be the gatekeepers to so much of what we try to do. And ultimately, I was able to get it on the Senate floor, and then it, gets sent to the House, and it has to go through the process all over again before it gets to the governor, who then gets to decide if they want to sign it. And so ultimately, this bill is going to just ensure that our teachers are teaching kids to read the right way. For far too long, like, we were teaching kids using 3Qing, which means like we're teaching them to guess and try to figure out like, oh, look at the picture or look at the word next to it to try to figure it out. Like, really, we just got to take it back to basics. Like kids were taught phonics back in the day.
Yeah.
To sound words out, sound letters out.
Yeah, sound them out. I remember that.
Yeah. And that's actually, now science has taught us that that's truly how you learn how to read the right way.
Use your words.
Yes, exactly.
I tell my son that. Use his words. His mom tells him, use your words. I think that everything doesn't need a revamp.
Right. And education does that all the time. Like there's this new shiny object, like, oh, this is the new way to teach something. Like, nah, like no. It worked for so long. Why are we changing it?
Right.
And then we realized like for 20 years, like we were doing it the wrong way. And that's why now we have so many kids that can't read.
Right.
And so now that bill just says, okay, like we know this is how kids learn how to read. We got to make sure that our colleges and universities are preparing teachers the right way to teach kids how to read, because there was like a donut hole that existed, for the past few years.
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely tell the difference in how they are trying to teach the students now compared to, I guess, when we were in school and you were in education and you were teaching. I'm sure you can tell more about the differences there. Let's pivot to some fun things here. You're getting an award. Congratulations. Let's tell people more about the award you're going to be receiving this week.
Yeah, so for Black Pride, they're giving me an award for political advocacy. I'm truly thankful and, excited about it. Some ways feel like, oh, this is premature, but, like at the end of the day, like pat yourself on the back. Like, stand up strong to accept, when people try to give you your flowers. Because I think it is important that we acknowledge, the work that people do. And, as you and I were talking, sometimes it's good to mix it like with the entertainment, because a lot of times that's what draws people. So, there's going to be a singer from one of, the popular, Netflix shows that are, singing there. And, ultimately, I think, the more you get people to understand the important work of policy in different avenues and mix it in, I think is, critically important. So, I'm really excited to get this award. I'm going to dress it up, looking really nice and fly. I got a new suit that I'm gonna wear, so I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Well, again, congratulations. When we talked about it, it's one of those things that, as a senator, I know you were busy all the time. There's always something going on, some constant in your schedule. So we always appreciate you taking the time with us to do it. But before we let you go, what we're gonna do is we have what I call the Hot Five. So it's 5 questions They're rapid fire, so you have to really spin them off rapid fire. But what you do is have a little fun with it. Give you some questions you may not normally get in the short term and things of that nature, and see how you feel about it. So
Okay.
we're gonna start that, and we're gonna go with number one. Tell me your favorite album of all time.
Ooh, favorite album of all time. Oh man.
Yeah, put you right on the spot.
Ooh, that is tough. I'm trying to think back, but since I like play it all the time, I'm just gonna say Renaissance by Beyonce right now because I ultimately it probably would be some sort of Beyonce album because I just love Beyonce. I think she's like the GOAT right now outside of like Michael Jackson.
Speaking
Yeah,
my
I would
language.
say
Speaking my language.
yeah.
Michael Jackson's my favorite.
Yeah, but she does have me now like listening to like old school like disco. So I was just listening to some MJ, like back in the day MJ.
That music is one of those things. It seems to always come around. So it's
Yeah,
like
man,
it may not seem like him at the time, but then all of a sudden that same wave comes back around.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just love what she's doing and doing different genres and stuff. 'Cause I think
Okay.
it's making us look at music differently and having a more elaborate musical palette too.
Nothing wrong with that. I like that. I like that. So so I know you're senator now. What was your dream job as a child?
Oh man, dream job. I always wanted to be Dr. Huxtable.
I
did. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that.
I just wanted to be one of the. I just wanted to be one of the kids. They seem like they had it so well off. Like that. I mean, I'm telling you, man. I never missed. Forget that, man. You can say that, man. I wanted to be a Cosby kid. Forget that, man.
So be clear. I said Dr. Huxtable, not Bill Cosby. I always wanted to be Dr. Huxtable.
You want to be a Huxtable.
I always wanted to be.
Nothing wrong with that. That's good. I like that. I like that.
A doctor and deliver babies. I always thought that was just so cool.
Yeah, man. Okay. What was the first video game you ever played?
Video game. Mario. Super Mario. Yeah. I used to love that. Used to love playing Mario Brothers. Then, got into 007. I used to love playing Bond.
Okay.
That was fun.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like that. Okay. Next one. Living or dead. You had a dinner for 4, so you can invite 3 people.
Okay.
Dead or alive, 3 people. Who you having dinner with and why?
3 people. Okay. First off, I would invite my great grandma. She passed away at 99. As a share, she raised me. Miss her daily. I wear her ring around my neck. It's somewhere around here. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. I wear her ring around my neck. Like, so I miss her. Like, I just wish she could see like all the stuff that I'm doing now. So I would love to have her. Barack Obama, like he is like my political idol. Just think he is amazing, and he doesn't sometimes get the credit that he deserves, especially nowadays. But I just think the history he made was just amazing. And then Beyonce, so I can steal her from Jay-Z. I feel like I just need to get my shot.
Okay.
But,
sometimes you gotta shoot your shot. Okay. Last question out of 5. Name a movie that changed your perception of the world.
Changed my perception. Oh, this is good. Oh. Dang, this is a tough one. Change my perception of the world. I'm trying to think back, like being younger.
Because you can usually say favorite movie, but the reason I say change perception of the world because some movie you watch it and it's like, oh, now things are different for me because you see things differently.
Dang, I don't know. That's a tough one. I like how y'all framed that question. Okay, I'm gonna say my favorite movie. Oh no, I really want to answer this question. y'all can edit this, right? Because I really want to answer this. Yeah.
Just something that it could be something as silly as like The Matrix, or it could be something a little more.
Hold on, Steven, why The Matrix got to be silly?
No, yeah.
Well,
it's a great film.
No, I actually like that. I like that.
Or just something that made you think a little differently about the world when you watch it out of the theater.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like a profound shift in your whole worldview or anything like that. But
Wakanda. Yeah.
That's you. As you say E or
yeah.
You say Wakanda. Okay. The first one or the second one? First one?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Second one was alright.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah, definitely the first one.
The second one was more emotional than than
Yeah.
entertaining for me. I think.
Yeah.
Because of the the circumstances.
Yeah, dang, this is gonna kill me.
I know. Shout
Okay.
out to my producer Steven for that question.
Yeah.
I
Shout
had
out. That's
I had a
really
high
good.
five, but he threw that one. I was like, I gotta ask the senator that one. That's a good
Yeah,
question.
I really like
Because
that.
when as we do entertainment, we do politics here on this show. We cover all entertainment, but we also include politics. We think it's important for people to be in the know.
Yeah.
Not just entertainment. So we try to do a little bit of everything, a little melting pot of stuff here at Tuned In with Jaco. But
Okay,
yeah.
I'm just gonna. I'll say Wakanda. Yeah, I'll go with
The
that.
first Black Panther.
Yeah,
Okay.
the first one.
The first Black Panther is not.
Yeah, it just shows us what's possible, and it was filmed here. It was
It
filmed in
was.
Atlanta.
It was.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing.
It was.
Yeah, I got to tour Trilliff Studio and saw like where some of the scenes happen. So that was pretty cool, man. But yeah, just the idea of in many ways, Atlanta is Wakanda for many people, and some of the scenes were filmed down at City Hall. So yeah, I just think the connection to all that is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Remember, always keep yourself first. Don't be selfish. Be motivated, be inspired, but also be true to yourself. As you move forward in life, things may not be as easy as you want them to be, but you got to remember to keep moving forward and keep your positive energy, keep the positive attitude. Only good things come from good opportunities. I've never seen anyone fail if they kept trying their hardest and they keep on. Because if you fall down 9 times, you get up 10 times. See you next time.